Today we are going to be putting up the rest of the mesh that we need so that we can bring the dogs down here and clearing away things like the old gate, which was fantastic when we first came here because it stopped dream escaping, but you know, it looks a bit of a mess, it's a bit shabby, so we're going to add it to the pile of things that I need to take to the tip or recycle. So let me show you what it looks like today. We're also going to be extending the mesh down past here because we thought about blocking off this area like it was originally, but I think that is just such a waste of space, you know, and it can also be a bit of the dog area. So the first thing that we've got to do is move the old gate, so let's get that done.
As above, so below, I like to watch you closely. You're looking toward the stars for all the answers that you hold inside you. The cool moonlight takes us tonight. Let our souls collide. Fall into this moment with you when everything.
You know what? I know it seems like a really small thing that, but moving that gate to me is absolutely huge progress. About 2 weeks after we had Dream, I turned him out for the first time, and the first thing he did was went under that barbed wire because there's only 2 strands. There's no way he'd be able to fit under there now, bless him, he's got so much bigger. But we tied it on with baling twine. We were literally in a situation where we thought, can we even make this place work for us? But it's just wonderful. This is what progress looks like. It might be small and it might feel really insignificant, but really nothing is trivial and you should never take anything for granted.
Can you see the lines? Come around the world with me. If only we could be so lucky.
Have you seen Simon's new hammer? He got the new hammer after this happened. That was my nan's hammer when I was a little kid. So that hammer's got to be like 50 years old.
I think we need a new hammer.
Yeah. But honestly, it's got to be at least 50 years old, that hammer. So it just lives in the boot.
Only we could be so lucky. There is so much more that's out there for us to see.
We've run a plumb line along the bottom of the posts either end, and we've found that the ground dips somewhat in the middle, like on the centre posts. I think there's about 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 5 posts altogether. So it dips between the second and the 4th post. So we're going to lay the mesh so that the centre post is the lowest point.
Come around the world with me. If only we could be so lucky. There is so much more that's out there for us to see. Come around the world with me. If only we could be so lucky. There is so much more that's out there for us to see.
So Simon has used horseshoe nails and just tacked the mesh all the way down the post. On the centre post, like I said before, there's 5 posts all along here, but the middle one is a lot lower than all the others, the ground around it. So now we're going to go to the 2 ends, stretch out the wire as much as we can, and then nail them on as well. So I've cut the mesh so that it goes around the barbed wire, because this is really old barbed wire. It's been here since the farm was probably first came into existence, and obviously we didn't put these posts in. They're the posts that were here that when we came here. So instead of replacing them, because we don't need to replace them, we are attaching the mesh to the old post, but they're not very straight. So I've cut the mesh so you can just tuck the mesh through, and then it won't hurt our hands. These are horrible. Right, so that's the one end completely done. We've got some metal pegs, a bit like tent pegs, but they're longer, that are going to peg the mesh into the soil, just to stop the mesh lifting or the dogs getting underneath it. It is really quite difficult to put the mesh onto this fence with it being so out of line, as you've just seen. So we had a bit of trouble, if you just saw, with the end. The end post is really wobbly, so we can put another post, we'll knock another post in behind it later on, and then screw that on so it's solid. But remember, this is not to keep horses in or livestock, it's only to keep our dogs in, and we're always going to be here with them, so that's fine. Also, the end part, I really don't want to cut the brambles down, because, you know, there's lots of wildlife, little birds and things, and they need the berries. And to be quite honest, it's really nice having blackberries and raspberries that we can pick ourselves as well. So I really do not want to cut those down. If we dig the mesh down into the ground and then train the brambles so they grow through the mesh, and that will just keep that in place. So I just think that's a more conscientious way to do it. Also, Will, the farmer, is coming at some point this weekend to dig out the horrible old muck pile and to get rid of all this wasted hay. Just look at it. It's absolutely awful. So the next job we're going to do, and I have to say it's getting very cold and windy now, is we are going to be putting rails over the top of the mesh that we've just put in. We've also got brand new rails that we are going to be putting onto the mesh that we put up before, but for this side, because it doesn't need to keep the horses out, and because we really want to use as much material that we can recycle as we can, then we're going to use the old rails that my friend Tony gave to us a while back. Yeah, so if you saw that vlog, you'll know we've got quite a few rails that we can use for this kind of purpose. So that's what we're going to do now, and hopefully it'll stop the mesh being so saggy in parts, because Well, as you've seen, the fence is not in the best state on this side, but there is only one post that's really wobbly, and we will sort that out as soon as we can.